Good morning, traders, and welcome to the All Markets live order flow webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. I'll be your host today, as I am on Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. East Coast time. Yeah, I lead the trading education here at Bookmap. I've been trading for about 15 years in a variety of markets and the order flow specialist here. I just want to mention that we have many order flow traders. If you go to bookmap.com, you click on the More button here and you go to our Learning Center, you will find here, the Getting Started here, the Get Connected, Getting Started videos, courses, but go to our Join Free Live Events, and you'll see many events here every day. We have many different order flow traders, variety of markets, different languages, etc. Stocks, options, cryptocurrencies, as well as futures. All right, so all day long, we have quite a nice educational approach here, training you on order flow. You can reach out to me on our Bookmap Discord, Bruce at Bookmap, and then my Twitter is @FlowOrder. General disclosure, all Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure, trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Let's jump in. Let's take a look what's going on in these markets here. Look at the S&P E-mini here. As you guys know, we can look at any market, Bookmap. It doesn't matter. Let me know if we can connect to it. We'll put it up here. I was just looking at the couple of different indicators here in Bookmap. Anyway, we can see that quite an odd day already. Just some back and forth in here on the overnight. And then we see the move to the upside, the move to the downside. We're right back in the middle here, so nothing's really changed here for this S&P. However, before I jump in here and start looking at the order flow, let's take a look at the bigger picture. All right, and we're going to let me preface it this way. In fact, in our education and what we're looking at, you can see an iceberg here, 69. This is just the best bid and offer going back and forth. We have liquidity in the heat map here showing sell orders up here and buy orders down below. That's it. The volume dots here are the aggressors. Market sell are the red dots, market buy are the green dots. Okay? This is what moves the market. See these guys moving the market here? Likely they'll trade up to here now. Okay. Now there's some liquidity they need to trade through. Okay, but do they have appetite for trading and tangling with and making the transaction with this liquidity here? And that's what we're going to read in here. Okay, so you can see that they didn't. Right. So we pulled back, and then this is where that buying interest came in. See it right here? See the dots? That's it. So do we still see buying interest? Yeah, we do. Okay. All right. So we're going to read the auction here. This is the process we're going through. On the higher time frame, it is the same. It is exactly the same. Okay. So let's look at our higher time frame. We have the daily here on the left, the hourly in the middle, and the 15-minute here on the right. Let me go with 9:30 cash open only, and you can see what happened. See how we it opened here. There's a big gap here. It looks like we want to maybe fill the gap actually on this time frame, right? We came up and spiked above here. This is classic rejection, right back down into the range here. And now let's see if sellers can take it to the other side of the range down here around 45.63 or 64, somewhere around there. Okay, it's just bashing around back and forth between a big value area in here, which you can see on the hourly here, which you can also see in the daily here. If we zoom in on the daily chart, we can look at a lot less bars in here. We are within the price action of Friday. Okay, so it has not broken. Well, it actually did break a little bit below here, but it rejected. Okay, so and you can see that rejection here. Now this is on the overnight here, not on the cash session. The cash session has not broken that level. All right, so we are in the middle of Friday's price action. We are in a range. You can see it on all time frames here. Okay, so we're just looking for chop and back and forth within this range. That concept is no different than what we're looking at in here, okay, on just smaller time frames. Okay, so we're going to take, it's not going to be a top-down approach here. Well, it's going to be a little bit of both. It's more like a bottom-up approach. If we understand that this is what moves the market here on the lowest time frame possible, okay, then we're going to extrapolate that knowledge and understanding of how the markets move to this time frame. All right, the daily, the weekly, the monthly, the hourly, the 15-minute, it does not matter. All right, does that make sense? Do you guys have questions on that? All right, and everyone can hear me and see my screen over here. So, yeah, okay. All right, well, so anyway, yeah, basically, if we just think about those dots in here, let's just actually mark this up. On that very, very small time frame, let's look at it on the 15-minute chart here. Okay, well, those dots were taking place in here. And we just see kind of dots going back and forth all over the place here. Back down, back up. You know, it's just kind of chopping around in this zone in here. Okay, that's the same here, right? So, and we can see actually we did break to the downside, but it rejected, right? So now we're going to look at this bottom edge here, also this top edge here, to get insight. Are we going to chop within this range, or are we going to break it? Okay, now on that 15-minute chart, we're actually looking for the potential for the move back down to fill the gap. What will that look like on this chart here? Well, we're going to look for this bottom range down here to have red dots in it. That's what we're going to look for. Okay, we're going to look for our red dots down in here. All right, that's it. Okay, well, that's not it, actually. We're going to look for the order book to skew as well. We're going to look for exhaustion up here, which is exhausting right now. Okay, so now we're going to look for, there's exhaustion again. Let's see if we get our red dots here. If we do, then we're looking for sellers to break this range and trade back down to here, okay, and maybe through it, okay, down to 68 and a half here. This liquidity, this is where the buyers are here. Okay, you can see that scenario that we're looking for simply did not unfold. We had the exhaustion, but we never got the sellers here. Right now, the buyers came in instead and broke the top of the range here up into this liquidity. Right, and we're going to see a stop run in here, which you can see down here. Okay, and maybe you can still squeeze a little bit higher here. There it goes. Okay, now can this reject? Now we've hit a lot of stops. Do we see sellers come in on the other side and try to trade it right back down to the bottom of this range here? This would reject then. Okay, this trading range here would reject. Okay, right now we're not seeing that whatsoever. We still see more buyers, etc. Okay, but we would look for rejection here, and we're not getting it. Okay, so let's just let's see if we continue to see these buyers lift it to this 79 and 3/4 level, or maybe we finally get our rejection now. Okay, now we can zoom in and look at a smaller range. So bottom of this range in here, exhaustion up here or lack of buying, look for sellers here, 77.5. That's the bottom of this range here. There's liquidity already supporting it. Now there's some sellers. Okay, do we get more sellers here? A little bit more. And nothing yet. In fact, more buyers still. All right, sellers, let's see it. Let's see it. There they are. All right, sellers, let's see now. Can you drop it? Can you drop it back down to the bottom? Maybe down to here, 74 and a half. No, nothing yet. Let's go back to our bigger picture here. I'm still looking for those sellers in here. This is continuing to grind higher. All right, let's see it. Sellers right in here. The order book's starting to kind of shift and change. We have more liquidity up here on the offer. And the buyers want it. So it's not quite ready yet. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can get some interest here on that sell side. No, not at all. Not at all. All right, so let's go back to our bigger picture here. Okay, so we got kind of this half a gap fill, and we're just back up into this range here. We're just in the middle of the range here. Here we go. All right, so finally these sellers coming in. Now, this is the bottom of the range that we were looking at earlier. It was actually down here. I'm actually looking for the sellers to trade it down to that range and then break it. Okay, that would be the scenario here. And let's see it. Looking for sell dot here. And then a move down here to the bottom of this range at 77 and 3/4. Okay, the order book is looking good here on the offer. They're down at 80 instead of up here at 81. And we're still finding some interest in the buy side. Still finding interest. Okay, and they traded into it here. Sorry guys, I'm really kind of focused in on this one. It is an uptrend in here, breaking, but let's just take a look at some of these levels in here. You know, the swing up here, sellers up in here. And I'm looking for rejection and a move back down. Now I'm just focusing on one side at the moment here. And it is just not, the sellers are just not showing up at all. Buyers continue to move it higher. We're up in 82. And this is a bullish structure and a bullish move here. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, that's the wrong assumption in here. I was looking for this continuation in here due to this structure on the higher time frames in here. Okay, that we had broken here, right? Okay, we do have a big green bar for the day so far, but we're back and forth within these ranges, and it rejected here, right? Bit of a pullback makes sense, and then a continuation was what I was looking for. Okay, on these time frames in here, and then I'm looking for that scenario to play out in the order flow, and it just didn't. It never materialized here. Okay, so now we can see some sellers come in and just dumped here. So we might get it now. Let's take a watch or take a look here. Oh yeah, it's fine not to trade it. We're just watching and looking for that. When we see something, Captain Price, you know, it basically we look for we go through the different scenarios, and you can see like there's an error that I'm actually kind of making here, you know, what your comment is, it's fine not to trade it. Absolutely, no, not until we see something that really tells us from the behavior of other traders which direction price wants to go. Okay, that's what we're looking for, right? And we looked for that scenario in here, and we just didn't get it, right? In fact, this is really quite a bullish move here. Nice iceberg move here. Boy, that's a couple thousand icebergs actually. But yeah, here it is, 1797. Okay, so you know, maybe the larger players up here are starting to kind of tune us into the behavior from these larger players. May kind of shift the market and the flow here, right? That's where this stops and icebergs can really come in handy. Now it's just an influence or a confluence here that the larger players maybe this tips others off to reverse their behavior here. Okay, so now we're starting to get the flow change. See, like this did reverse that behavior. Okay, so look at the sellers in here. Look at the buyers here. Very little. Sellers come right back in. Okay, so and drop it here. All right, so now, yeah, let's see if we can get a bit more selling in here, and nothing so far. But anyway, like you can see, this is where Captain Price, like as we go through scenarios, how important that is. Okay, and how important it is to be objective. Okay, I was looking for, I had a bias, right? I was looking for only one scenario to play out. Okay, and I was waiting and watching for that scenario to play out. Okay, and it just simply didn't. It left me unprepared for this move to the upside. Okay, because I wasn't looking for it, and that's an error. Okay, so I'm, you know, if I objectively go through this, the more objective that I am reading the order flow, the better this works. There's just no question about it. Be humble, be aware of the behavior in here, go through your scenarios, wait for the cards to be shown within these scenarios, and then you can look for a higher probability decision at that point. Right? So let's take a step back and what do we see right now? Okay, well, what about this range in here? Okay, and what's going on within the order flow within this range here? Okay, well, we know that larger player came in and moved the price lower, and then now look at buyers taking it right back up again. Okay, now we've seen this a million times. Is we have the potential here for this larger player to come in again now. Okay, because it's at the price level where he came in, and a lot of icebergs got filled, and we see this price move to the downside. Will they do that again? We can look for it. Okay, let's look at the order book skew here as well. Let's look at the volume within this range in here, this back and forth. In fact, there is more buy volume in here than there is sell volume, and that buy volume is right here, and that looks like it's that iceberg. Yeah. Here's that 1700. See how this iceberg here, although we have more buy volume, there's someone on the other side absorbing a lot of that volume, that aggressive buy volume. Okay, so see if are they still involved in here? Yeah, exactly, Abby. This is the way to go. Just what is the auction behavior telling us? Okay, and you can avoid your bias. Okay, so now we're getting our sellers coming in, bottom range here, bottom of the range, and I'm still looking for them to trade down to here. Okay, this liquidity, this looks so much better. Right now, there's something that we still don't have here, and see how the order book is the skew in the order book in here. We can see that the liquidity is up here and more in these areas here, and it's kind of dark in here. Okay, just before we had mentioned that, or we were talking about that, see how it's kind of dark in here. We'd like to see that skew in the order book, that there's more supply at a lower level in here, and the reaction be that well, sellers or buyers are not interested, and sellers are interested more in taking price down into the bid down in these areas here. Okay, we don't have that yet. Okay, what we're looking for it, right? So maybe they'll start to kind of clue us in here. Okay, that's when we have something that just the auction is giving us so much more. Okay, see how they're actually bidding up here still. Down here, 79, 78 and a half. So where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with the context here in the analysis. Okay, so let's take the heat map off just for a minute here, and we'll just look at the aggressor. Okay, we know that this big buy volume here was totally absorbed, or a lot of it was absorbed by an iceberg, but there was still more buying pressure. Then we see sellers come in. Okay, we're looking at the volume dots. We're looking at the volume bars here. Okay, and you can see that yeah, some buying able to climb back up here, but there's still more selling coming in. Okay, so within this range in here, and we can look at CVD as well. Okay, there's more sellers. Now here is our exhaustion on the buy side. Now we're looking for our aggressors, and we're looking for them to drop it through this level here. Okay, just by the aggressor and the price structure, we know there's more sellers in here. We know that they exhausted here, the buyers exhausted here, and we know that we sold back down to the bottom of the range. So we're looking for our sellers in here and then to break the range at this point. Okay, that's just the price structure in this price here, this price range here. Let me try to simplify it. This price range here. Okay, now, so that much we know. Now, what is the order book telling us? Well, the order book's not telling us too much. Buyers can lift it right back up into here, okay, pretty quickly. Okay, because we don't see that supply, you know, at a lower level here. Right, so it really doesn't take much for buyers to lift it back up into here because there's not a whole lot of limit sell orders. So the order book is kind of keeping us away from this idea at the moment. And now here we go back down again, and let's see, we might get a little more insight from the order book and the aggressors at this bottom edge here at 79 and a half. Okay, so looking for that order book to be stacked on the offer a bit, and it's not. They're more, they're starting to pull here. See how they're starting to pull? Okay, I mean, they're pulling and adding a little bit higher is what it looks like actually. But it was orange, and now it's kind of bluish. All right, and now it's becoming a little more, there's a little more liquidity at a higher level here. Now, how do the aggressors react to it? That's the question. And this is the order book skew, and it's just demand here. But what does the market think of this demand here? And that's what we're reading in here. So we're just kind of right back in the middle of the range. Okay, so nothing shaking here. Tesla opened red and is now up 6%. My God, really? Wow. Yeah, yeah. I mean, here now this is a hard read in here. We didn't the buyers just start to kind of climb back in here, but there's nothing in the order book. Okay? And this liquidity stayed in the order book here. Okay, and the aggressors took these guys on at 83 and traded into them, and these sellers here got what they wanted. They sold. Okay, these transactions took place 173. Okay, at this price level here. Okay, so we know there's still demand in here. That's what it's telling us. Okay, and there's still demand in here. Okay, this is how to be more objective about it. Okay, all right. If there is still demand in here, and they're bidding up underneath here, looking for 85. Okay, 80, 86 to transact. And that would be our scenario here. Okay, more sellers coming in. But right back down to where that demand came in and moved price higher up into that 83 liquidity. Okay, it's getting interesting now. Okay, it's a lot more selling, a lot more than before. In the range at least. Well, there's still more demand. Look at the bars, size of the dots. Yeah, still seeing more demand on the bid here and followed by aggressors. Okay, so yeah, buyers still remain in control from this point here at 82 onward. Okay, so now we're looking for our 85 and our 86. Okay, or at least top of the range, put it that way. Okay, which would be about 84 and a quarter. Now let's go in and we'll maybe look at Tesla, take a break, and then come back. You know, from our bigger picture approach that I was looking for that gap fill here. It was had that potential here, but the buyers came in and they're going right for the top again here. This is our 86.5 up here, and then we have 88 up here and 90 as well. Okay, on our hourly, so that would be yeah, 86 up here. It's a pretty strong candle here on that hourly. So yeah, more likely than not, we're going to trade up to these wicks up in here. Right, just due to the strength of the move in here. Okay, and the order flow confirms that too. This is some pretty strong buying in here. All right, let's jump over to Tesla, and then we're going to start to look at some microstructural stuff, I think, because it's going to be one of those days I can see. All right, so let's take a look, take off the candlesticks here. Yeah, you can see this is kind of odd behavior in here, Captain Price. Like You know, look at the back and forth in here at the 9:30 cash open. This is where the buyers came in, moved it, supporting it at a higher, at the same level, higher level here where the buyers were earlier. They traded, no sellers, and not enough sellers to drop it into these levels here, and then we can see our buyers come back into the top of the ranges, and then this is where it really picked up here. Okay, and this is what it takes to break a range. Typically, is we see volume like this, and it rediscovers another area, and although this is a low volume node, it is typically high volume that moves price like this, and then establishes a new trading range or continued exploration to the upside here. Right, so yeah, that's what I see in Tesla at the moment. Now, interestingly enough, up here though, on these highs, this is nice, powerful, strong move with strong buy volume, and that's what we want. Up here, we're not really seeing that, right, at all. This is not strong volume. Okay, so sellers can drive it down to these areas here. Would love to see it back down into 260, maybe even retest back down here at 259. Okay, and that fits also pretty nicely with that. See how the volume profile in here, single prints in here, and or at least in market profile, it would be single prints, and look for a retest of that area. Okay, because we're not getting the volume up here. We're not seeing that price exploration on stronger volume. Okay, so now let's take this understanding of Tesla, which is bullish here, and we see it starting to sell off a little bit. Let's look at the S&P. Okay, now S&P traded back down to the bottom of this range here. This rejected, actually, this strong move to the upside rejected. We're back down again. All right, now see how see how different this is in the order book here. High liquidity here, pulling liquidity here. So 77 looks better here. And we see the strong move by sell side here. Okay, so let's just go through the setup. It's moved it away from this range here. Right? See the sellers come in. Okay, and now we have high liquidity here, which just traded. I mean, interestingly enough, it just traded. It did not skew the book. So these guys got what they wanted. They sold. They wanted to sell. And they sold. That transaction took place there. These limit sell orders filled. Okay, and there's still more buying pressure after that transaction. Crazy day. Just not making too much sense in the order flow here. It's just trading right back up to where those sellers came in. Okay, now this is where I would look for this to reject here on the buy side and to come back down and at least retest back down to 81. Okay, at least, maybe back down to 79.25. And why? Because this is where the sellers came in. Okay, right here. And now I marked it up here as a range, one range and another range, but this is where the sellers really came in and drove it lower. Okay, so that's where we're looking. It's being retested now, and now look at the order book here. And now that's one player with the majority of the liquidity here on two different levels, price levels here. Okay, but they're skewing the order book, and at the moment, I was about to say at the moment we're not finding buyers, but they're starting to kind of curl back in here. All right, let's see that seller come in with more. Let's see them drop on the bid here. Let's look for these red dots again and come back down to 79.5, 79.25. Okay, so that we were looking for the move back up to this kind of 82 and then rejection. Well, it came all the way back up to here to this move. Now it's starting to reject. So we're looking for the bottom of the range here, 79.25 or a half. All right, now let's zoom out and let's look at the bigger picture here. Okay, pretty back and forth within this range here. Okay, we're just looking for the test down here. Now let's mark that up. It's on a line. Oh, okay. And now we have the potential now, since we're looking at these sellers in here, we have the potential now to break the 79.5. And this is how you can set yourself up for capturing that move. Okay, so we talked about the retest back up here, then looking for the sellers, okay, and then looking for the test down here. So if you're at this point in here with your trade management, you could consider taking some off, okay, because you're just looking for the test down to the 79.5. Okay, and again, this is due to a confluence of events in here. Sellers coming in, dropping it through this range. We do see the buyers come back, but the order book is telling us something here, and we found sellers. Okay, so where would you get in? We'll cover the entry in just a second here. But now what we're doing, or what we're looking for in this order flow read and setup, is to trade down to here, take some off to limit the risk, because we might come back up. I mean, the order book is, we don't see more sellers at a lower level here. We're not seeing it. So buyers can shift it back up here again. Okay, but we're set up for the bigger move. Okay, that sellers may come in and then drop it back down to maybe our 75 level down here. Let's mark it up. 75.75. Okay. Okay, now let's go back and take a look at the analysis in here. All right, so the order book still is not really showing us much in here. It's still pretty dark here, right? And there's more still on the bid at these higher levels here, or around 78.5, 78. But we want to see this kind of liquidity in here skew that order book. Okay, and then the reaction to be more sellers here. That gives us the higher probability read. And we're not seeing it right now. See how bullish every dip is? I don't know. I mean, this is a shift here. No doubt. No doubt. I mean, look at the volume, right? We're looking for shifts. In fact, maybe we'll focus on shifts. Yeah, let's do that actually. I mean, this is such an important part to understand in order flow or just a price action analysis. Understanding the shift, because the rest is just back and forth in here, right? This is the shift here. This is the important part that we wanted to see. Rob, I think you had said, I don't know if Rob's in here or not, had shown that there was a in your volume profile, all the back and forth, building out that profile, right? However, the profile, and we don't really care about what's going on in there. We know there's going to be maybe a skew in one because it's trading at a level more than another level. That's true, but we want to understand these moves in here, in these shifts, right? So here's a small shift right now on the buy side. Okay, but sellers still have control of this move so far. The shift has taken place here, and we have not seen anyone. Well, we saw the retest back up here, but there was more supply up here in the order book, and they are still here. right? So now this little shift here is rejecting. Okay, and you're going to look for a stop run on the other side of that. You can talk about here's the shift, and you can see how it totally rejected. And this is really important to understand. Here's your shift, and here's your shift on the other side, actually, from the sell side. Okay, and it moved that market lower here. All right, so sellers still remain in control here, right? And we don't see much of a stop run yet. So I am looking for a retest back down to this bottom edge here. And then I'm looking for the seller. I'm looking for, or this scenario here it is for the stop run below the 79 level here, 79.50. All right, and so what do we do in the meantime? There's nothing to do. Okay, our shift is here. This shift rejected. It's actually being retested here right now, and we're still finding some buying interest in here. Fascinating. Okay, let's see if it rejects again. Now, if it rejects again, we know what it looks like, right? We're looking for our sellers in here. Okay, and then all of these buyers in here are upside down. Okay, that would be our scenario. There could be another scenario that the selling in this area we see the squeeze to the upside in here on the buy side on up into our 83 and a quarter. Okay, so we're looking for that shift. Now, one of the nice things actually we can talk about this, like looking for an order book shift. What we can look for is a pullback after the shift. And that can be a very high probability trading plan to look for as a pullback strategy. And we'll cover it in hindsight here, but let's look for it in real time as well. It's amazing, like just above our little swing here, that we're still seeing buyers up here. Okay, a lot more buyers, in fact. Okay, so it's actually more likely to trade back up to here right now, 83 and a quarter. Okay, let's take a look at this. Take that across. So we can look at our level here. All right, let's see if those sellers can shift it here. Okay, now we were, I mean, just due to the volume up in here, there was still more buying. Then we're looking for back up to 83 and a quarter. Now we're below our level here. So we have the potential for all of these guys here to be stopped out in the squeeze lower here. So this would be a long squeeze. How's the order book looking? Boy, the order book has not given us much in here. It's pretty dark in here. There's the sellers are up here at 83 and a quarter. The buyers were here at 79 and a half. Now they're not. Look at see the buyers trying to shift it away again here. Okay, if we get enough buyers in here, right here at 82, we should see it. They should be able to shift it back up into this 83 and a quarter. They cannot. Yeah, we're gonna see this kind of action, it looks like, all day long. Kind of trap some traders up in an area, have it shift back down, get them to get stopped out at the bottom of the range in here. Do the same thing on the other side again. Okay, even this shift here, which, you know, from the inside out basically. Okay, and then again, we can get the opposite side just above this 81 and a quarter here. Okay, from the inside out again. And yeah, that's starting to unfold. Yeah, what are these numbers in here? These are iceberg transactions on the bid side, and these are iceberg transactions on the offer side. Okay, we can look at stops as well. I just have icebergs on chart, but I have stops and icebergs in the sub chart here, as well as our cumulative volume delta, which I'll take off. Go. Well, this is going to wind up for a pretty nice move, I think. See the buying here? Look, now watch for the shift here. This is a breakout, right? And we're looking for it. There's a lot of buy volume here. Okay, if they should be able to, the buyers should be, and there's not a whole lot of selling here compared to this buying here. Okay, so it has the potential to break out into a new range. So from this range here on up into a new range up here. Okay, so we're starting to read a lot more. Again, a lot more clarity here with the volume. The order book is still not really helping us yet. Okay, continue to watch and look for that insight from the order book here. You can see it's just dark all the way through here, basically. Okay, until down here at 78 or up here at 83 order. And again, top of the range here, this looks really good for a breakout here, and they just couldn't do it. Still not enough buying. Okay, so our sellers have come back in. They are trying to shift it away here. Let's jump over to our Tesla and see if our Tesla fell back down here. Yeah, it did. Back down to 260. So this is what we were reading in here in Tesla, was the order flow up at this level here, where we saw this strong move, right? And then it's just not as strong, and it continued to go up here on less buy volume. Cumulative volume delta is capturing that, as you can see. Here's a higher high, but a lower high here in cumulative volume delta. It means there's more selling in here than there is buying, even though price went up. Okay, so that led to the move back down to 260, and then still looking for 59 here. Okay, we're seeing a bit of buy volume interest come in right now. All right, see, look at these attempts here. This is reminding me of the crypto markets, in fact. And maybe we'll even jump over to crypto. See the sellers down here, buyers back up above it. Look for the stop runs, look for the and then rejections in these areas here. Again, we're still trying to look for the bigger move here and the shift. This has the potential. Many of these had the potential. This had the potential here. This one actually looks even better for that potential, right? Because we tested down here, rejected, and we see massive buying up in these areas here. So now our 83.25 has transacted. Still looking for more buyers here. We want to see that this be a shift in the market here, and we want to see it come back up into like 85, maybe 86. Okay, after it rejected down here. Now, the volume looks good. It's at the top of the range. It's broken the range. What about the order book? Well, they stayed in here, and we don't see too much on the bid. Okay, so sellers can move it right back down and pull back to 81 without much effort. There's a little change. Okay, look at that. 81.5 here. So there's our skew in the order book. Okay, and this is above our 81 level here that we had marked up. Now this guy just pulled that liquidity, but you can see how how traders will test this market. Liquidity will test it and see supply and demand here. Okay, what's the reaction? And that's where we can gain insight too, from their liquidity. All right, so now if we see another shift here, maybe this liquidity here at a higher level, and then more pulling here on the offer, a few green dots, and we look for it to slip up into 80 and 85. All right, so let's zoom in here and let's see if we get that. Okay, order book is unchanged, basically. Just they're up here at 84 and 85. That's where the sellers are. All right, I'd love to see a skew right now because we got a little bit of buying in here, and would love to see an order book skew now. Okay, it's very slight in here. And you can see it a little bit bluer here, and they're starting to pull up here. We're still finding buyers. And now watch, we'll likely get a pretty big skew here, and then we can push into 84 and 85. Okay, that would be one of the scenarios here. Okay, let's see. Would love to see that. No, instead we're trading into, we do see you can see a very slight skew down here. That happened after we traded into this liquidity here at 84 though. Okay. Not much of a skew, but we got the move here. 85. Now, yeah, and then see how the sellers take it right back down. This is why we look for that skew and that support to come up at a higher level here. And let's look at our bigger picture here. Okay, it's just trading up into these wicks here. I like the hourly. I like the daily here. There's some strength behind it. The 15-minute doesn't give me that much of a feeling here. And it was up, it was down, and then we saw that kind of shift in. It was around in here where we saw that shift, where I was saying I had a bias to the short side, and there was no reason to have that really. You can see the nothing but buying pressure come in. Right, so we're looking again here. There's still more buying within this whole little range in here. There's still more buying. Skew would be, think of an auction and just more traders wanting to bid up at a higher level, or maybe offer at a lower level. This is I'll show you what I mean here. Joe, this is a really good question. In fact, what we're gonna do here. I'm looking for these kind of shifts here and identifying them, and then price action within that shift, right? And then as a pullback and then continuation. And that's what we're looking for. Like this was that shift here, and it was on pretty strong volume, and it traded into that liquidity, and we just didn't like that the order book wasn't supporting it underneath. And we had this trade here, and we had a little bit of a skew, or just this kind of bluish area in here. This read all started with this guy down here, or I'm sorry, this guy here, right, who skewed the order book. That's the skew. Okay, so think about that here. Here's someone that comes into the order book here at 81.50, and they're bidding more in here. Joe, think of this like it's a potential spoof. Because they pulled that liquidity here, but they were able to get price to kind of go higher without taking much risk, right? Essentially none, because they put it in the order book, and maybe sellers could have hit the bid into it really quickly, and there is some risk there, but basically they put their orders in and then pulled it, so they never traded, they never committed, right? And it had this effect on price. And now we don't know if it's just this, but this definitely helped us gain a little bit of insight here. Okay, and we were hoping that this guy added more up in this area here, and we saw, well, it started to trade up into here, and then we started to see this get a little more bluer. And now you can see they're pulling here, right? So now the sellers want to go for this liquidity down here at our 81 level, where this all broke out from. Anyway, we'll go through the skew here in the auction. It's a very important part in the auction process. And I can show you that from the Learning Center here in Bookmap. If you go to bookmap.com and you go to More and then Learning Center, and then go to our Market Mechanics course here. This is free and open to all. And our market mechanics course start with part 1, and what I want to show you here is the order book skew and how that affects price. Okay, it's here, right? It's the same concepts in here. You'll see that the order book there'll be a skew here, and then when the skew occurs, how does price react to it? There's their skew right there, right? Okay, so all of a sudden, like more contracts come in here on the offer, and what happens with price is the question. Okay, so all of this supply up here. Now think about the supply and what it entails. It's just that if there's more supply, usually demand is curbed, okay, or at least met, and not always. In fact, we can go through another exercise in here. I wanted to really kind of focus on these shift moves in here and how important they are to understand. But instead, let's look at some order book imbalances now. This is an old exercise that I think is very worthy and valid here. If we go to our volume dots here, and we're just going to turn them off. Okay, even our volume bars, so we're not going to cheat. We're just going to look at two elements on the chart. Let's even take our stops and icebergs off and just focus on this. Okay. We're going to focus on just price action and order book. All right, so actually not bad. We're starting to see a little action in the order book now that we didn't see earlier. All right, we'll see them bidding here and see them offering here. Okay, where is price within this balance in here? Well, it wants to trade into this liquidity here. There's a little bit of a skew. See the skew here? See that bluish area in here? Okay, so let's see the sellers trade into this and maybe through it into 80 here. Okay, so I'm looking for, because of this skew here, I'm looking for the aggressors. They start to fade away from that area. So I'm looking for them to trade into this liquidity and this one down here as well. Why? Because there's an order book skew in the auction. It means there's more traders offering at this lower level, and you can see them trading here as well as pulling here. Okay, and then adding even more here at 81.25. Okay, at a lower level. So there's more supply. Now it's not a whole lot, but it's some. Okay, at this 81.25 level. That's the order book skew here. This is such a vital element here to read in the order flow. Okay, it is from, you guys can, I really highly recommend you review. We can put this, I'll put this into the chat for you, and review this order book skew here in some of those illustrations, and then how you can understand that order book skew and understand where price might go next, which it has gone down to that 80 level right now. Okay, now look again. There's still a skew in here. Okay, now they're starting to add a little bit more in here, right? And it's kind of making it more complex. But the demand is down at these lower levels here. Okay, and there's supply here at these lower levels as well. They're not, before, when we saw that back and forth, they just remained up here, right? Now we're seeing a skew in the order book. Okay, so what is the reaction from traders? Okay, where do they want to trade? Where do they want to deal? We can see a little bit in here at the 79.25. There we go. See the skew here? All right, sellers, hit into 78.5 and 78. Right, so we're starting to see that, read that skew in here. So we're looking for those the aggressors to deal with the buyers down here. See again, the skew coming in again. Great. Let's see it now. Just need a few sellers to hit the bid into this liquidity here. Okay, now this is very dynamic and changes and shifts rather quickly. See how it's shifting and changing right now. Here's a new information in the skew, right? This guy is pulling here, they're adding here on the bid. So now we're trading back up to here. Okay, but we're being consistent with the skew and reading that. Okay? It's dynamic. It changes. Right? So How do you use that if, let's suppose, you're in a short position on the way down here? Okay, well, there's a kind of a confluence of events in here to read. Okay, but you want the order book to be on your side. So there's many different ways. Like maybe your stops are just kind of above the swing up in here, and maybe this is the pullback. Maybe if you're scalping on a very short time frame, you can look at your market structure. And now if you see big green dots like up in here, starting to move this higher, which there probably are, we don't know because we're not looking at the volume here. We took it all off. We don't even have the bars. Okay, but then why not? Why take the risk for this to unfold here? Okay, and trade back up here. Now that's a scenario though, and let's be honest with this. We don't know what's going to happen here. Suppose we saw some of that, and then all of a sudden, instead of this price going higher, we saw massive liquidity come in like this. Okay, at 3 or 4 different price levels. So it would be basically like layering or a spoof. Then likely what would happen is you would get our move back down here. Okay, and you'd see big red dots here, trading back down into this liquidity here. Okay, and we don't know. Like I said, the order flow is very dynamic. The markets are dynamic. Shifts and change happen all the time. And we just want to be in tune to the behavior of the traders in here to give us insight. Okay, now this is on a low time frame in here. Okay, so I hope this helps, Joe. And you'll see that, I mean, really the auction process is the same on all time frames. It really is. Okay, I mean, if we just zoom out here, it's like, well, here's the liquidity. They're really down here in the S&P, at 70 and 68, and then here they are way up here at kind of 86 to 88 on the higher time frame. And what have we done in here? Nothing really on the higher time frame. We've just chopped up in this area here. Within today's price action, all we've done is chopped. Okay, we did see the shift here. This is a nice little shift. And I'm upset I missed that one. We can also see a shift below here, back down into here. Okay, and then even down to the lows. Right, we're not seeing that right now. Okay, in fact, what are we seeing in terms of order book shifts now? Well, yeah, there's not a whole lot. They're up here at 85 and they're down here around 79. Okay, now watch though. There'll be another kind of shift in here, and we'll see the price action here in regards to these changes in the order book here. Okay, now what are we reading in here? We can read this. They're pulling here. Okay, so if they're pulling here, what if we get traders wanting to bid up in here? Okay, we saw that kind of shift earlier. Let's look for it again. Because right now, what can happen, these guys are not here. So we can have price come back down here pretty quickly. But see how the shift, it's a subtle shift in here. So you can see it in the order book here a little bit, right? And they're pulling here. So we would look for this to kind of continue to explore higher, right? See the shift here? We're only reading 2 elements here: price action and order book imbalance or shifts. All right, so, and yeah, we can read the behavior here. They came up after this 85 here. It's a great exercise to understand and put the pieces together here. Now this here is a let's zoom out and let's look at the volume now too. Okay, let's put that into perspective. And let me just take a look here. Volume dots, volume bars. Okay. All right, and let's take a look at these areas here. All right, so we're looking for probably pretty big volume dots here on the buy side, right? We can look at the speed of the move. We can also by looking at the angle here, and also the how many ticks it's moved. You know, the size of the move, and typically that will be with pretty strong volume. That will be our kind of shift away right here, which played out pretty nicely. And it even pulled back to where that volume came in here. Okay, now that volume up here at 85 has transacted, or that liquidity at 85 has transacted, as it was previous area as well. All right, well, let's take a look here. Okay, now we're going to add that extra context in here. Here come our buyers. We have a little bit of a skew here. God, I hate it when it moves like this before I can get to the analysis. We have a little bit of a shift underneath here. Not much. It's a little bit bluer underneath here. It's not much, but we're finding our buyers here. All right, so again, now watch. There should be probably a pretty big shift in here. Watch the liquidity on the bid, because we need to see an imbalance in here that is able to push the market up into this high liquidity here. So showing an order book imbalance would be a good way to do that. Okay, showing massive demand here at that higher level around 84.5. Okay, and it wasn't massive. It was a little bit here. Okay, a little bit. Well, let's see if there's more now, right? Because now we traded up into these guys, these limit sell orders. Okay, and now let's see. So we're looking for demand here in the order book around, and a skew around 85 to 84. Okay, and that will support price. More buyers come in, and then we can trade up into 88, 89, maybe 90. Now, see, this is what we want to read here. Is like, and other traders are doing this. They'll show liquidity and see what the reaction is. And we would do the same thing. You know, it's kind of like, suppose you're walking around with your umbrella. Is it still raining out? Well, how would you know? You'd stick your hand out and kind of test it. It's kind of the same thing in here, see how the market's reacting, or see if it's is it still drizzling, raining. Yeah, well, you can see a little bit of liquidity here on the bid, and we're still finding some buyers here. Now, it's still, see how dark it is here though, right in here. Right, it's just there's our skew. Okay, so let's see what happens here. There's our skew, right? That's what we're looking for. And then how do traders react to that? Okay, now it's a larger player. He's got about 200 contracts there or more. Okay, he's showing he wants to buy at this 86 3/4. Are sellers interested in trading with him? Does this guy mean business, or is it a spoof? Okay, to get his maybe to spoof and get the market to trade up into 88 liquidity or higher. Okay, but see the order book skew here. Okay, it's from 86.30 and 3/4 to 88. It's not much of a skew. And now we got our answer. Okay, so he tested it, and he actually took risk here several times. Some of it actually even transacted right here. Okay, and nothing transacted in here, nor here. Okay, and then he pulled it away from the market. Now he's back in, it looks like. Now we don't know, but it's likely the same player, and he got filled. Okay, sellers took him on. Okay, sellers traded into that liquidity here. Okay, interesting. All right, so what does that mean? Okay, do we still find buyers back up above here? Okay, this is the volume event now, is to watch this little area right here, 86.50, above or below aggressors. Okay, they're below it. There's still more selling pressure right now. All right, so now we're at that level. We're finding some buyers. We have a little bit of a skew in the book here, not much, but they're also adding more here at 07 or 87.50. Okay, so it's kind of muted here, right? The order book isn't giving us too much information here. Okay, I mean, this is good to see on the bid. That's good. Okay, I would like to see this guy or these traders up here pull some of that liquidity though. Okay, that would allow the aggressors to easily trade up to here. Okay, and there they go. Just a few ticks. Okay, now watch again. We want to see these guys pull that liquidity here, and we want to see that this larger player come in again on the bid. Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, this is just kind of just staying in this range right now. I mean, it still has a little bit of a bias to the upside here. But I want to see these guys pull here, and I want to see, would love to see them pull and add on the bid, basically. Then I think that would be enough of a auction skew to get price to come back up. Okay, there's a little skew here. Okay, let's make this heat map. I'm just going to add a bunch more here. Skew the book, get a little more color in here, a little more insight for us here, because we're not getting much today. All right, so let's see here. Well, no, not much. They're still pretty solidly staying in here. in the order book. Very small range in here, but we do see this liquidity at 86 and a quarter here. Okay, it's a 1 point range, and we're at the European close here, but so likely we're going to get some volatility here. There we go. There's a skew. All right, see the skew? Now, do we see aggressors at 87 and a quarter? If so, I think we can trade into this liquidity here. Okay, because we're finding aggressors. Some, not a whole lot, not a whole lot. That just makes it less likely it can trade up there. And now he's pulling at 86.50. Okay, the scenario would have been up here if we had these big green dots up here. Okay, then we'd look for the move higher. Okay, into that liquidity. And let's see if we get it though. We pulled back and he pulled at 86.50. This is pretty horrible price action in order flow right now. We can still read it though. All right, so let's see here. Looking for the skew. Don't see it. Don't see anything happening. Okay, I see liquidity at 86, liquidity at 87.50. Okay, we found some sellers. A little now we're getting some insight here. A little skew here on the offer, and we found some sellers. Okay, so we might be seeing kind of a shift now. Okay, let's see. Does this guy pull here at 86? Do they add more here on the offer? Do we find more sellers in here at the bottom of this range? Then we have the possibility to trade down to 85.5. Okay, which we just did. We have the possibility to trade even down here, 84. All right, let's go back now and let's get back to reality here and restore our heat map to the default settings. Okay, now there's a shift. Okay, there's our shift. This is a new area for price to trade for right now. All right, so we look for a pullback. It's already pulled back to this little area right here. This is your pullback. Okay, great. We're getting a bigger pullback here. All right, now we're looking for on a pullback. We don't want to see buyers up here. We are seeing buyers right now. All right, so maybe this isn't what we're looking for. Okay, for our pullback, we want to see exhaustion here, a little bit of exhaustion up here, and now sellers coming in. All right. So a little bit more here, 85 and a quarter, and let's see them drop it now to 84. Okay, this was our shift away from the market, sellers taking control, and this is our price exploration by the sellers, taking it lower. Okay, so now from this point onward, now let's just be precise about it. Let's take a look at it. Really, the shift kind of happened here, I guess, maybe 86 and a quarter. I would love for it, I should probably say 86. That volume dot came in there, but there was volume in here that was pretty important that dropped it. I was able to get more sellers to hit the bid. Okay, so this is our new range in here. Joe, price seeks liquidity. Well, let's put it this way. Yeah, most of the time it does. Okay, but I have to define it very clearly here. It really depends, but obviously the market needs liquidity to transact. And that's what market makers or whatever it is, you need to have an auction. Otherwise, there's no action at all. Nothing would happen. Someone has to bid. Someone has to take the trade. Someone has to offer. Someone has to take that trade. And this is how it works. Now what we've been talking about in the skews here. Okay, now larger time frame. That longer term high liquidity, like on these areas here, the price is attracted to it, as long as you get aggressors that are interested in it. Okay, otherwise it'll look like this. Okay, you'll see there's sellers down here. They're here. Liquidity's down here, but there's no interest in trading down there. Okay, so why isn't it searching for this liquidity down here? Well, because there's no sellers in here. There's nothing but buyers in here. Now we started to note it in here that this is an interesting move up into 65 because there's more selling in here. So look at the selling in here. Look at your CVD. This is maybe the potential beginning for a move back down into not only 63, maybe back down to 60. This could be like a $4 or $5 move here, potentially, right? Well, it could be a $10 move down here to that liquidity, and we don't know. But you can see that the buyers were attracted to this higher term, longer term liquidity in here, okay? And they traded up into it, okay, all the way through. Right, so that's longer term liquidity, and the aggressors were interested in trading to it. Okay, we do see that the selling delta dots in here, but price continued to go higher, and that's possible, and you see it a lot in stocks. Anyway, that would be your answer for that longer term liquidity. Depends on the aggressor's attraction to it. Now, what about the spoof? What about that skew in the order book that we've been covering? That's where we're looking for that liquidity to repel, potentially repel the market, or just to test it and see, like, do the buyers or sellers, are they interested in it? Okay, so that's when we looked at here in the S&P, and we're looking for that, like this potential spoof in here, right? Or that other one down here that we saw. Okay, and what was the reaction? Okay, that did it repel the buyers, or were the sellers interested in trading into it? And that's what we want to read. Okay, hope that makes sense. It is essential to understand that concept, though. It's not a straightforward answer. It depends. It depends on the auction. I mean, I can make an analogy of an auction at the farmer's market. There's like all of a sudden, let's suppose that there's a lot more potatoes that come in, truckloads of potatoes. Okay, so a lot more supply all of a sudden. Well, you would think that that should basically you would have less buyers, or equal amount of buyers. Maybe price would go down, right? Because now there's so much supply, and then demand hasn't really changed. Okay, maybe even demand, people are getting sick of potatoes, and demand is curbed. However, let's suppose a tour bus comes in and to that farmer's market, and there's more supply, but there's more demand. Depends on how attracted they are to it. And that's what you want to read is that context, and that's what we've been doing in this process today. It's really important to understand that, and that's what we want to read in these areas in here, and you'll see it again and again. I mean, look how we just traded back down into this, and look how this again, that dynamic. We're looking for it to trade into 84 here. Okay, looking great, looking for 84. Look what happened here. Someone front ran it with 362 contracts. Okay, and it's a larger player, our large lot tracker here, and then we also see it 84. And now it did trade to 84 here. Okay, not much, but some. And there it is. Okay, so now it has transacted. So what does this tell us in here? Okay, so the sellers are attracted to this liquidity here, and there's still more selling pressure. And look at them pulling in here, and we're still finding sellers. Okay, so now we're looking for price discovery. Now we're looking at a shift bar again. So we're looking for 82.5 and 82 now. Right. So now, again, it's dynamic. You can see that that play of liquidity in here, and then how does price react to it? There's lower liquidity here on the offer at 84 and 3/4 and 85. Now it's starting to show at 84. Now they're pulling at 82.5. Okay, great. A few sellers here. We should hit the bid. We should be able to hit into 82.5 and 82. Okay. The one caveat was there was a little bit of a dark space in here, and look how much buying it took to be able to reach back up here. Very little. Very little. Okay, now we're getting our move. Okay, so it had to pull back here, and then now we're getting our move. Okay, just understanding this context in here. We'll go through it again, Joe. These are great questions. It's essential to understand this in the auction process. Okay. Okay, now it's traded at 82. Right? And now we have another shift in the market here. Here it is. Okay, now we're looking for price action within that shifted area here. Or maybe we start trending. Let me get to some questions, guys, and then Tom B is back, so enjoy that. We're back to our full schedule, and then we have options with Doug, and after that we have the Algo Boys. So we have a full lineup here of traders, and yeah, Algo Boys is on Discord only, so look for that. The let me answer some of these questions for you guys. But you know, we kind of started off the webinar with a bias, and you can see how wrong it is to have a bias. Okay, my error, my fault. Learn from it, though, and then don't have a bias. Just read it, objectively read it, and then you can capture these moves in here. Okay, so this is all fractal and scalable. So look where the buyers came in on this move and shift away, right here. This is where they shifted away from this range in here. Well, we just retested it. Okay, and did we find some buying? Yeah, we did. Okay, not much. Sellers still remain in control up here to 84. Okay, so that much we know. This is driving the market right now, these sellers. Okay, but this was a previous move, and let's look at the context here. Look at the volume bars and the volume dots. Okay, look at the volume bars and the volume dots. There's actually more selling down here. Okay, so now I really like it for these sellers to drive it away from even this area here back down to 80. Okay, and then you can see there was a kind of a shift here as well. By the buyers at the bottom of this little range in here on up to the top of the range. Okay, now the liquidity is down here. Great questions, Joe, and I'm happy. I hope I answered them for you. Okay, Danilo, that answered your question, right, about what scenarios could bring it back down. We went through it in detail. Big sparks in the COB, the numbers, lots or contracts. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a lot or a contract. You know, they're kind of interchangeable. They're not shares, though, of a company. Okay, so futures are very different in that regard. Shares, there's a float, a certain amount of shares out there for trade. Is very different. Whereas it's open interest when the futures, if there are no buyers and sellers are equal, you can create a new contract by showing more demand or something, or if you want to sell. Okay, so it's not like you go and borrow shares from somebody to short sell for stocks. It's a very different thing. Okay, options are the same way. You can write contracts, right? And that's captured in the open interest. I would recommend that you go to the CME website, and here we can just look at the ES, for example, and look at the contract specs. Okay, and this can give you a lot of information here. Volume and open interest, okay, OI, right? And then look at the day here. And this is how you can also see when it shifts from one contract to the next. Okay, the next contract is going to be in December, but look how many people are trading December. Okay, and the Globex and in the total volume here. Look at the open interest. Okay, here's your open interest. Okay, so actually some of the open interest, there's a little more selling in here. They actually have some of the contracts are they've added a little bit of open interest in some of the future months here. Okay. Anyway, guys, all right. Well, we finally got our read on some of this stuff in here, yeah, let's just kind of zoom out, look at the bigger picture. Well, all we've done is traded back down to this 80 level here, and that's what we were looking for, the potential to break that level and come back down into not only the lows but fill the gap here. So let's go through, let's leave off with a couple scenarios in here. And let me clear the drawings, and we'll just go through a few scenarios in here. Right, so this is our critical level here at 80. Right, now what we're looking for here is a few different scenarios, and we'll take the dots off and we'll just paint them in. Okay, so a few different scenarios would be that that high liquidity that was up here starts to come in down here, not only here, maybe even here. It is followed by big red dots. Any liquidity down here at 79 is pulled. Oops. And then we just see the continuation here of the sellers on through. Okay, that would be one scenario here. Okay, and the other scenario would be well, it could come back down into this area and reject and come back into the range. Okay, I won't cover that one right now. I'm going to cover the opposite, is that it accepts here. So we do see a lot of selling in here from here onward, right? Okay, and we saw that unfold, the shift here take place, shift here, and the shift here. Okay, however, let's look at horizontal line here. Okay, that's our line at 79.5. And then what happens down here is we start to see a lot of demand. Okay, so we would look for high liquidity, even higher liquidity here. Okay, and then basically to see very little in here except for what was up here not filled and still remaining in the order book, which it is. You can see it in the current order book. Up here from 87 to 90. And maybe they even bid up a little bit more here, and we got our aggressors. Okay, and then trade up into where this shift took place here. Okay, maybe it bounces around in there. Maybe it just continues on up. Okay, and trades up into that high liquidity. The order book is dynamic. We'll see it unfold here. You'll see these different scenarios and who's winning the battle. Okay, and then go with the flow at that point. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for coming. Hit the like button if you like this. We'll be back tomorrow and we'll go through anything that you're interested in covering. Happy to do it. Don't forget the rest of our streamers all day long, different styles, different markets, etc. Okay, Doug is with options. Tom is with volume profile. Algo boys do their own kind of proprietary trading and some interesting stuff over there as well. All right, thank you everybody. Have a good day and we'll see you tomorrow.